I am giving away 3 5% pieces of myself to the main event coming up next month at the World Series of Poker. All you have to do to enter is go to clpgiveaway.com, clpgiveaway.com, and the link is in the description, and enter. There are several things that you can do to get additional entries, including being a CLP subscriber, but check it out for your chance to win a 5% piece of my main event action. All right, you got a hand first, Megan?
Yeah, this is a 1-3, no limit hand, 9-handed. It was 525 effective.
All right, 525 effective, okay.
And I've got 10 of spades, 8 of spades, and the hijack.
All right, so this sounds like it's going to be another limp pot, maybe.
Oh, it's limp.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
Limp pot, your favorite.
All right, so 10 of spades, 10 of spades, 8 of spades in the hijack, okay.
Yeah, so everyone limps. There's 3 limps ahead of me.
Okay.
And I decide to join the party. I limp.
Throws 3 limps, hero over limps. We'll just talk about that for a second. I actually hero over limps. And again, one of the things that I've said many, many times, just as a very sort of dirty rule, when people say, well, Bart, how do you approach like limping and over limping and all that stuff? I say, if there's one limp in front of me, I usually just ignore the limp, and then I will open what I would normally open if it had just been folded to me. So probably I would open, it's pretty close, 10-8 of spades in the hijack. So if there was one limp, I would just raise over the guy, right? Once it gets to 2 and especially 3, then what I do is I only raise the hands that I would raise for value in the first few positions, 10-8 of spades not being one of them. And then I would over limp the playable hands that I might play from that position. And so I don't mind your play. Obviously, it's much better closer to the button. And there could be a case to be made for raising to grab yourself the button here. But again, I will go to my deathbed saying that like calling here is more profitable in a live game than folding. So as Eric Anderson in the live chat says, fold pre-flop. Well, let me disagree. I don't know how that can be proven except just based upon empirical experience in live games. Now, you're also not that deep too, so it gets a little dicey. That could be the only thing. Like if you were shorter, I could get on board with limping. Folding. But you're not that short, So, okay, so you over limp.
Yeah, I over limped and the button called, small blind folded, and big blind checked. So it's a 6-way limp pot.
Okay, so button call. So 6 ways. Okay, so like 18, maybe 15 after the drop or rake or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, so the flop came out 4 of hearts, 9 of clubs, 7 of spades.
9 of clubs, 7 of spades, 4 of hearts.
Yeah, so it's rainbow, and I've got open-ended.
Open-ended, backdoor flush draw.
Yep, you got it.
Yep.
So checked around to me.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone seemed really disinterested in this pot. I probably sometimes check here, but I bet $10.
Into
like 15 or 18.
Yeah. So you bet $10. Okay, so a couple things here. Couple quick things of note. This is a small stakes exploit. Absolutely. Where I talk about how the smaller the pot size, the more the actual bet size dictates your fold equity or how strong you're going to be. It works when the pot's small, and it also works the opposite way when the pot is large. So if you're playing a 1-3 game and the pot's $1,000 and somebody bets $500, that's a $500 bet. That's a huge bet. That is immense strength. You should look at that, not just, oh, he bet 50% of the pot. It works the opposite way when the pot's small. People are constantly putting out full pot size bets just because the pot's small. Personally, I would have bet like 15 or 20 here. I just think that you would have gotten more, maybe even 25. It's straight draw to the nuts. You got backdoors. It's a dynamic, top pair dynamic board where you can just, obviously a 6 and a jack make your hand. You've got an overcard here to top pair, but then you can just fire king, queen, ace. And I was going to say, like, if someone led out at you here, this might be another one where it's attacking limp pots. It's a little bit connected. Like if it was 9-7 deuce, I would like it a little bit more, but I would definitely bet I would have just taken a little bit of larger sizing. So you go 10, okay?
Yeah, that all makes sense. And I agree. I think there's like plenty of opportunity to win this hand later on, especially at this table too. Um, yeah. So yeah, I only bet 10 and just the button called.
So button who's next to act calls, right?
Yeah, and this button I know pretty well. They are loose, passive, and like generally pretty terrible.
So it looks like the pot now is 35 or so.
Yep.
The button calling next to act. I mean, usually that's not going to be a very strong. I mean, it could be top pair, right? But I mean, there's so many people left to act behind. You would think that like sets and stuff would raise off. I mean, it is rainbow, so
Yep.
I mean, it could be like 9x, it could be 7x. I like if I think that the button is going to be fast playing off two pair plus quite a bit here because of the multi-way nature. I love the way that this hand is sort of uh, going about because again, you've got equity towards the nuts. You've got a boatload of equity against a nine, and you can just fire, fire, fire. And it's really hard for a nine to call down, especially when the chances are you're either going to make your straight, right? Top pair that beats a nine, or there's going to be scary overcards that come. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
and you've got a backdoor flush draw too. So I really like your spot here if this guy's capped at 9x. All right, so the pot's 35.
Yeah, and the turn was a dream. It was six of spades.
Okay, well, obviously that gives you a ton of it gives you the nuts and a flush draw. I was gonna say I thought for a second there was a combo. It gave you like a combo draw, like like the queen of spades or something. But you've got the nuts and spades now. Nine of clubs, seven of spades, four of hearts, six of spades. Okay.
Yeah. So I let out 25.
So hero bets 25. Now I like the fact that you continue to bet here because I think this will get checked through a lot. And the reason why I think this will get checked through is a nine is not always betting. It's not like there's a front door flush draw out there where a nine might bet for protection on the turn, thinking you leading out with a flush draw. People start to get scared on like sort of these because they think like you could be checking for, with some hand because you're scared of the straight, and they're going to be doing a lot of checking back. So I do like your lead. I just would bet larger.
Right,
Because
okay.
if he's got 9x here, 10-9 is a straight draw, 9-8 is a straight draw, 7-8 is a straight draw. It's not like he's going to fold king 9 or ace 9 either. So I probably would have bet like 50. And there's just no way that anyone's going to show me that like they're going to fold king 9 or ace 9 or something like that. I mean, again, subtle, but okay, so you go 25.
Yeah, and this person like really passive too, so I'm definitely betting here. Like they're not betting. They're not bluffing all the time, like or anything. They're getting money in the pot. They're calling all the time, but not betting. So, anyways, yeah, they raised to 50.
So you get min clicked.
Yeah, I actually don't remember. I'm not sure if I have the hand history right. I could have bet. I bet small. It might have been like 15 to 25. Anyways,
But
they
he
bet they
raised to
raised
50.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you said you might have bet 15 or 20 or
I might have
something
bet
like
15
that.
or 20
Yeah.
or something. But yeah, anyways, yeah, they
The only
raised to
the only
50.
difference that would make is that you might get a little bit more of a raising frequency if you had bet 15 as opposed to 25 from somebody. But even still, I still think that a raise here most likely, especially if it was 25, is going to indicate. I mean, it is a click bet. It's just so rare that I would see somebody go like 10. Put it this way, like I would be shocked if there's a raise fold button here pretty much ever.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I would just three bet the turn,
Yeah.
because you don't want to
for
call.
sure.
Again, going back to the last caller too, the worst thing you could possibly do is call, check the river, and then have it go check behind. That's a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, there's no fold here at all. I agree. So I three bet to 160.
So if you three bet to 160, which is just over 3x, if he calls, the pot will be 370, and you guys will have like 325. I think it's okay. I might have even gone to 175 or something, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, I think bigger might have been better because they're like, I think they're calling. If they're calling like almost anything here. Like I almost jammed, but I was like, that's just too ridiculous. And so I was trying to find a good spot. Like I think maybe I can even go up to like 250 here because they're just if they're calling, then they're and I think they are calling anything, then maybe I just go crazy.
Well, I mean, that would be breaking. I mean, that would, again, talking about all kinds of like small stakes things here. In theory, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to raise to an amount where you're never folding because you never get, if you're in any situation, whether it's pre-flop, flop, turn, you're not supposed to raise to an amount where your opponent has no fold equity coming back over the top. If you're at that threshold, you're supposed to just move all in. But you can definitely do that. And I always give the example pre-flop with like aces and kings. Try to rope somebody in because they're not paying attention to pot size. But okay, so you go to 160.
Yeah, and they called.
Okay. So now call. Now the pot is we put in
355, 360, something like that.
So what do you think this guy has?
So I think they're pretty wide here still. Like two pair sets, they could have any straight, like the bottom end or the middle, like 3-5 or 5-8. They could have the same hand as me. They could even have something like 5x of spades or like a pair and a straight draw. They're that loose, but like, I don't know, like calling the 3-bet. I thought they had to have.
Do you think
like,
they have
so
do you think that there's a flop set in here that was slow playing? Do you think this could be two pair, like 7-6, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are definitely in their range in my mind.
So
like even 4s, 9s. They could smooth call 9s on the flop.
So you're looking to not have a board pair here, and you've got like 3 and change left, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the river?
6 of hearts.
Oh man, and that's like one of the worst board pairs. The reason why I was going to say not all board pairs are the same here is because a board pair that's the turn board pair is slightly worse, I feel like, because we just talked about this again, very slight and sort of nuanced. We just talk about, okay, they've got slow played sets, but then there's also turned 2 pairs, right? Turn 2 pair. So then when the 6 comes, the turn 2 pair is full now, as opposed to like if a 4 came, right, on the river.
Oh, 4 would have been so much better.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. I mean, this sucks. God, I mean, is there another straight out there? 5-3, that would be weird.
Like 3-5, 5-8.
I think you want to check and hope that. I mean, if you face a bet here, it's going to be. God, I might check and evaluate and see what the sizing here is, but because I'm trying to think about because I always want to get the most amount of value right from my hands, but I think that river is so bad for you now that it's not even like whether or not you can bet and get called by worse. It's whether you're losing more often than winning now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I hated it so much. I ended up checking.
Okay.
And button went all in for like 350, like almost immediately.
For 350. Wow, that's. I mean, if you're saying this guy's passive, I can definitely get on board with a fold here.
Super passive.
Yeah.
So I just kind of threw up in my mouth a little, and I folded.
So did you get a reveal?
Yeah, I actually open folded because I know this group pretty well.
You mean like you showed it? You showed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she showed 10 of hearts, 8 of hearts.
Wow.
So she had the same hand.
Yeah, with the same hand, I was like free rolling on the turn.
Now, I don't know who your opponent is, and I mean no disrespect, but again, I can't really give credit for your opponent at this level to be thinking along what I'm thinking about here is that this is a great play if they know what they're doing, where they correctly suss out that you don't have a boat. You might have the same hand. This is more of a PLO play, and then you just get somebody off of a chop. It's kind of rare in Hold'em. The times that you can sometimes do this, if you know in Hold'em, and again, it's usually kind of rare, and it's on the front door side, but if you know in Hold'em that somebody has the same hand along with you, and you're in position, and there's a front door flush draw out there, you can sometimes, instead of just getting in on the turn and you guys are going to chop it, you can just call, like, say my opponent made the action like you did, Megan, where you 3-bet the turn. And I'm like, all right, I know Megan has 10-8 here. You know, obviously there are players that can have different hands just besides 10-8, but let's just say that we just know Megan has 10-8, right? And it's almost like it reminds me of Mike Postle's hand. The Mike Postle thing. There was a hand when I did that, Mike Postle review, and when we put this up on YouTube, I'll link to it in the description. You know, it's got like 400,000 views. When I went over an hour's worth of Mike Postle hands, right? I did that in, I don't know, maybe December of 2020 or something like that. It was a while ago. There was a hand where Postle had queens, and the other guy had queens too. And he played it, and there were so many little things in that whole video. He played it in a way where, because he knew that the other guy had queens, because he could see the cards, right? I don't know if he got check raised on the turn, or I think he might have even gotten check raised on the turn, because he knows the other guy's cards. There was no reason for him to like jam over the top of a check raise on the turn, because he knows the guy's going to call and then they're just going to chop it up. Instead, what he did was he called and then waited for a scare card, which came, and then got the guy off the same hand. So this is the same example of this, where I know Megan has 10-8 and there was like a front door flush draw out there and it came in, or the board paired, I could just get Megan off the same hand. Whereas if I'm just jamming turn, then you're just calling, right? And there's a chop. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing play because like she had like no bluff.
Does she know what she's doing? Did she know what she was doing?
No.
Okay.
No, it just worked out that way. Yeah, I don't know. Like my question was just like whether on the river was like whether my hand beat like any of her value, whether she would ever do this with a straight or like trip sixes, like crazy out to lunch action. But like I just couldn't see it. I just thought that I was so likely to be absolutely crushed. Like, but sometimes it's hard to know, right? Like sometimes people don't see that the board pairs, they've like no idea that things have changed. And so
right.
I don't know, I was kind of worried that it was just like monsters on the bed. But
no, I think that, I mean, sometimes you get unlucky when someone doesn't see something, right? I mean, we've had situations where somebody makes a bet. I mean, I've made folds where I thought that somebody had like a backdoor flush, right? And we both had a straight, and I ended up folding, and I'm like, this guy's probably only betting a flush here. And then, you know, it gets revealed that he had a straight, but the reason why he bet was because he didn't see the backdoor flush. We had a call like that a couple weeks ago where I was like, wow, this is really bizarre that someone's betting like this with a straight. And the guy said, well, later my opponent, after I folded, said that he didn't see the backdoor flush. You know what I mean? I mean, it's stuff like that. So anyways, Megan, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks for it.